The predator child trembled on the cold metal floor, its breaths sharp and fading. Warriors twice as tall as humans stood frozen because the tiny human medic wasn't running. She was whispering soft, steady words. Words no predator clan had ever heard spoken to one of their own. And when the child's pulse quieted under her touch, the clan made a vow so fierce it shook their war-torn traditions. No human shall ever fall again. But how did one whisper rewrite an entire species? If stories like this spark your curiosity, go ahead and tap like it helps more than you think. And if you enjoy deep dive sci-fi tales with emotional twists, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. Share this with someone who loves HFY moments. Because this one, it's a wild ride. The smoke in the corridor moved like a living thing slow, swirling, unsure of where to settle. Through it, the human medic, Hannah Lee, stepped over shattered armor plates and spent plasma casings. She wasn't supposed to be here. Her evacuation shuttle had already lifted. But that tiny sound, a trembling, broken whimper, pulled her back. At first, she thought it was a wounded crewmate. Then the shadows shifted, revealing a small predator child curled against a bulkhead. Its fur was matted with blood, chest rising in painful, uneven jerks. Every instinct told her to stay back. Every briefing had warned humans about juvenile predators, unpredictable, dangerous even when dying. But Hannah didn't move away. She knelt. The clan warriors stood at the far end of the corridor, massive silhouettes, eyes burning with suspicion. They expected the human to finish the cub off. That was the way of war. That was the cycle both sides had followed for decades. Instead, Hannah leaned close and whispered, "You're not alone. I've got you." No human had ever spoken to a predator child like that. The cub's frantic breath softened, its claws relaxed. For a heartbeat, it didn't look like a monster, just a frightened kid. And every warrior watching felt something shift. The corridor remained silent long after the whisper left Hannah's lips. Predator warriors, each towering, armored, and born into a culture that worshipped strength, found themselves frozen by something they had no training for: tenderness. One warrior, Elder Carvin, stepped forward. His tusks curled with age, his voice low like gravel dragged across metal. "Human, what did you say to the cub?" He expected defiance. "Maybe fear." But Hannah just kept applying pressure to the wound, speaking softly to the child as if the elder wasn't looming over her. "She's scared," Hannah murmured. "Fear kills faster than blood loss." That line traveled. Warriors glanced at one another, unsettled by how gently the human handled the dying youngling. Predator healers didn't whisper, they commanded. They barked orders. Comfort was not part of survival, yet the cub responded. Its frantic pulse slowed. Its eyes, once wild and shining with panic, focused on Hannah's face with something like trust. Trust toward a human. Unthinkable words spread quickly down the damaged warship. From corridor to barracks, from barracks to command chambers, the human calmed a dying one with her voice alone. Some warriors scoffed, others doubted, but more listened. Because deep down, even hardened predators recognized a simple, dangerous truth. Kindness was stronger than fear. The clan's command chamber was carved from black alloy, its walls etched with the names of ancestors who had died in battle. Every torch-like lumen flickered with a primal heat as elders gathered in a tight circle. None spoke at first. They were listening to the echo of a whisper that had spread like wildfire through the ranks. Elder Carvin stood in the center, his massive silhouette casting long shadows. "You all heard what the human did," he growled, though there was no anger in it, only something heavier, older. "She soothed a dying youngling, a child none of us could save." Another elder, Mrock, slammed a fist to his chest. "Our healers failed, our traditions failed." Yet a human touched the cub without fear. Silence again. A silence packed with the weight of reconsidered hatred. In their culture, gestures mattered more than words. And Hannah's gesture, kneeling beside the dying youngling, whispering comfort without expecting anything in return, was a gesture that demanded an answer. Carvin raised his blade. Every elder mirrored him. "If a human stands between death and one of our children," he declared, voice ringing like a struck bell, "then we stand between death and every human." The chamber erupted in a single vow. spoken with thunderous unity. Nitrogen monoxide, human shall ever fall again. The battlefield looked different after the oath. Not quieter, not safer, but different. Human soldiers who once kept their distance now found massive silhouettes stepping between them and incoming fire. Predator shields thick as starship plating rose like moving walls in front of human units. Some humans panicked at first. Old fears don't break easily, but then they saw it. A Predator warrior taking a plasma bolt to the chest so a human engineer could finish repairing a generator. Another lifting a collapsed beam off two trapped medics. And Carvin himself towering, unstoppable, shielding Hana like she was royalty. Hannah tried to argue. I can take care of myself. No, Carvin said simply. You spoke life into our child, we give life back. Their enemies noticed the shift too. The opposing forces saw Predator warriors moving with human soldiers in a rhythm that shouldn't have been possible, protecting, covering, sharing fire patterns like they'd trained together for years. Confusion rippled across enemy ranks. How do you fight two species who were supposed to hate each other but now fought as one? For the first time in decades, humans weren't the galaxy's weakest combatants. They were the most protected. Because an entire warrior race had placed its honor, its blades, and its very blood behind a single promise: no human falls. Long after the fires dimmed and the battlefields cooled, the story of the Whisper refused to fade. It crossed borders faster than ships, carried by traders, soldiers, diplomats, and even enemies who didn't want to believe it but couldn't ignore it. They called it the soft moment. A moment when a human kneeled beside a dying Predator child and treated her like she mattered. No treaties, no negotiations, no leverage. Just compassion. The cub's final breath became something sacred. Her name, Rika, was carved into the clan's hall of the remembered, surrounded by runes that spoke of the human who held her. That alone rewrote centuries of tradition, but the true ripple came later. Predator younglings began asking their elders, "Are humans safe with us?" And the elders always answered, "Yes," by the oath. Allies who once doubted humanity now saw something else. A species small in stature but enormous in heart. A species that protected its enemies' children. A species that didn't need claws or fangs to be powerful. Years later, when treaties were finally signed, the first line was simple: born from a whisper, sealed by a child. And across the stars, one truth solidified into legend. Humans were not feared because they were strong. They were revered because they cared.